One at a time, and we'll get the job done. Y'all know what to say. On three. 1, 2, 3.
And the home of the Jets.
Mr. Jet Central.
What's going on, dude? What's going on? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you loud and clear, my friend. This is going to be one of those shows where, before we get started, just want to start with a positive note. Thank you so much to everybody that's been tuning into our streams, checking out our videos, both channels, man. Greatly appreciate it, especially times like this where it's tough being a fan. You may get burnt out of content. So thank you so much. Everybody keeps checking out our stuff and giving us feedback, man. I really appreciate it.
100%. 100%. I mean, one thing that's undeniable about the New York Jets, the fans are the best.
100%.
Well, I mean, you watched, we're going to get into it, right? And by the way, just quick disclaimer for everyone hanging out in the chat. This just might be like a 45-minute, hour-long just vent session, just constant complaining. So just a heads up before we dive into it. Not going to be a ton of positives.
No, and nor should there be. When you lose 4 in a row, it's ridiculously frustrating. In a season of high expectations, a season of, make a big run at the AFC East, especially when the AFC East is down. But let me start with this. One of the things that is pissing me off the most is that following the game, Aaron Rodgers, our leader, the guy, the savior for this franchise, says, you know what? Before the game, this team was flat. At halftime, this team was flat. Ulbrich, halftime, man, you know what? This team was flat. Devontae Adams, who just joined the goddamn team, say, you know what? Before the game, this team was flat. How is that possible when you've lost 3 games in a row? You know you're on the brink. Primetime television, like all these expectations. Like, where is your leadership? Where is your direction? How can you be flat in a scenario like that? Please explain that to me.
Dude, you're at 1,000% on the money. I mean, I mean, we were, joking around. It felt kind of like a playoff game. Yep. To be honest with you, a playoff game in October. You don't want to fall to 2-5 on the season where you have the Buffalo Bills on a winning streak, and they actually won in the 1 o'clock window against Tennessee, right? Jumping to 5-2, the opposite record of the New York Jets. We dropped the game against the Broncos. That's an AFC loss. We dropped the game against another AFC/divisional opponent in the Bills. Yep. Not to mention the other 2 NFC losses against San Fran and Minnesota. So it's like you're 2-4 in the season with already multiple AFC losses here. Being 2-5 sucks, man. It sucks. You're 3 games underneath 500. Think about that, bro. We can go on a 3-game win streak.
Yep. And
we're just breaking even. And it stinks because, you're going into the year, and every fan base does this, right? It's not like the Jets fans being, overly optimistic. I've seen that argument a lot, on social media and stuff, but you're as a fan, you're on, the website, you're on the schedule, you're kind of going through the games, trying to do like record predictions and everything like that, trying to give it like a ceiling and a floor. We're dropping games that I felt like the Jets could have won, quite honest with you. And so
just start here. I'm not letting this go. This team, with these leaders that we touted the entire offseason, Tyron Smith, CJ Mosley, all these quality character guys, all we heard about is a high character team, great locker room, all the leadership. And they're literally telling us the way you talked about it, that sense of urgency was not there. Then what are they doing then? What is the sense of this locker room? Are they just collecting checks, going through the motions? Or they're like, you know what? We can just step on the field because we're a good team. We've arrived. We can step on the field and just show up, and just Aaron Rodgers being here, not playing, just being here, we're winning games. Like, what's wrong with the mindset? Because there's clearly something, before we even go to play on the field, the culture is clearly wrong. There's something clearly wrong from top to bottom with this organization.
They don't have a culture. Like, if you want to talk about winning pedigree, it's not there. We had the lead on Pittsburgh, 15-6. And not only did we just let the lead slip through our fingers, that happens, right? Steelers are a good football team. It's not like we played Carolina. Pittsburgh came back, but they scored 31 unanswered points and we scored 0 in the second half. That is flat out ridiculous. Yep. Do you see the Kansas City Chiefs, the Baltimore Ravens, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Buffalo Bills? Take your pick on any good team, the Detroit Lions. Do any of those teams blow leads like that? It's just few and far between, right? But for the New York Jets, it's just so damn confusing. And to your point about, the lack of leadership, not only did Rodgers say that there was a lack of energy before the game, which Ulbrich said he didn't feel, but he said that there was a lack of energy at halftime too. So it's like, what more does this, how many more losses need to happen for this team to just wake up before the season's over? I'll say this, if we lose this week against the New England Patriots, season's a wrap.
Trade everybody.
At that point, you have to win out or maybe get like 1 or 2 losses to get to 10, 11 wins.
But it's ridiculous. The fact that they have no energy is an enormous problem, right? Because I don't understand. I mean, just you're showing that Aaron Rodgers, no matter what he says to the media, behind the scenes, it's not happening. The second thing, which you kind of mentioned, was 15-6. They're on the verge of maybe blowing out the Steelers. Like, you know what? A field goal here, a touchdown here. The Jets could probably get a pretty good lead here and start taking advantage of the situation. They face the slightest glimpse of adversity, an interception, and they melt like cheese. Like, here it goes. Like, they're waiting for the other shoe to fall. Like, they're waiting for a reason to lose. Oh, that's our reason. That's our cue. Time to start screwing it up. Like, they can't handle adversity at all, man. Like, they are just like, that's a losing culture. It's a losing mindset. Not where it's like, you know what? We screwed up. I want to bounce back and be even better. It's like, we screwed up. Woe is me. We can't come back from this. We're not going to win the game. Dude, it's bothersome. That is the coaching. That is the leadership. That's the players. It's garbage, dude. It's absolute garbage. You're waiting for things to go wrong. And when they do, they're like, yeah, sorry, man, maybe next week. Well, guess what? Your season's spiraling out of control. Where to the point now, we'll talk about the game more, but when they beat the Patriots, if they beat the Patriots, I don't even care.
Hey,
it doesn't matter.
Let me stop you right there. You cannot say no, and nobody can say when this Jets team beats the Patriots. Why? Because we have not shown an ability. We have no more privileges by, being able to circle a team on the schedule and saying, oh, well, we have more talent than them, or, oh, this is an automatic win, or this is a get right game. Nope. All the privileges are gone. You lose to Denver like that. You lose to Minnesota like that. You blow it against Buffalo. You look like, I would say this is the worst loss of the season. And I don't want to sit here and be over dramatic and be, angry for clicks or whatever. I'm not really here trying to do hot takes or anything like that. But to enter the game, which I felt as though was a freaking must win. Yep. Against a good Steeler team on primetime football. This wasn't just like a, run of the mill 1 o'clock window game, to come in and just have, like you said, dude, one bit of adversity, one thing go against you in the interception. And that's the game. That's what I was talking about before, right? No winning pedigree. If you just think of a playoff game, any two teams, what do you just naturally think of in football? You think of the two teams, well coached, they have a plan, and they go back and forth. Yep. You don't think of a team like the New York Jets where they get a sack or they turn the ball over, or I mean, to be honest with you, like you could even look at like Xavier Gibson on special teams. Like he, I believe, fumbled 2 times and the ball rolled out of bounds. So it's like, even in those instances, could you imagine if those two, balls stayed in bounds? It's just, I don't know, man. It's the Jets have a lot of work to do, and I think it starts at the top, right? They have problems with leadership, with culture, with accountability, with attitude. The one thing I really want to get your take on is the body language on the field and on the bench. It is awful.
But that's the leadership. That's your culture. And it's funny because now they're all puppets. Because now Aaron Rodgers today and McAfee's like, you know what? We got to pick each other up. We got to show more energy. We got to do more. Conveniently, the same day, Devontae Adams says the same thing on his show with Kay Adams. It's like now they have their little rallying cry. Why is it taking so long? Where is your pride? Like, for all the grief we give Rex Ryan, and no, I don't want Rex Ryan to come back and coach his team. Rex Ryan and Damian Woody showed more passion and pride about the Jets than this entire team did in their little commentary after the game. We're like, what about playing for your uniform? What about playing like you want to be a winner? You want to win your division. You want to be the best at your position. You want to dominate. That mindset is gone, dude. And players, our top players that we highly touted and praised endlessly, that had these high aspirations for, are regressing. Sauce, Garrett Wilson. These guys are like what happened to them? They're lifeless too. They're zombies. They don't believe in the program, or they've just given up. Like, you know what? This ain't gonna work here, man. Like I'm not, I'm just one of the guys now. I'm blending in this train wreck. I'm just a piece of the puzzle now. And it's embarrassing, dude. And it's unacceptable. And that was further proven to me because I love Brian Baldinger, dude. I think as an analyst, he keeps it real. He breaks down tape and he tells you why. He did an interview today on WFAN, which I highly recommend everybody listening to. He literally went through it and said, Sauce Gardner's not playing the same way he's played. He's not moving his feet. You're not getting the same effort. You're not getting that. Garrett Wilson, you're not seeing the same kind of tendencies at him. He's like Tyron Smith can't even get out of his stance. You can question why he's still in the game. He goes, your offensive lineman can't even do combination blocks. He's like, sort of like, was that coaching? He's like, listen, man, there's a lot of ugly stuff going on. So the Jets could talk about accountability, but to a man, they're failing. As a team, they're failing, but as a player that should have pride in your job. Like if you're Sauce Gardner, you didn't arrive yet for 2 seasons. A career is 10 years. You want to have a Hall of Fame career, not a Hall of Fame 2 seasons. Garrett Wilson hasn't arrived yet. He hasn't become like an all-pro receiver yet, but they're acting like it. And now they're just going through the motions. And it's unacceptable, dude. But nothing's going to change because nobody's holding them accountable. Nobody's getting benched. Nothing's changing. It's truly a mess, man.
This team has no leadership.
No.
There's really no other way around it. Like, you can bring up one person, and the answer is no. They don't have any leadership, right? Joe Douglas, nope. Woody Johnson, nope. Yep. Jeff Ulbrich, maybe. We've only seen it through 2 games, but they haven't looked good, and we've seen the same exact mistakes really throughout the course of the 4 years, right? Confusion, penalties, unprepared, whatever. They make the change with Nathaniel Hackett. He doesn't have any leadership. Todd Downing, I guess maybe he's a solid locker room guy, but to be fair, the offense has looked a little bit better. But when you have a team, go ahead.
Say the elephant in the room, bro. Say the elephant in the room. Aaron Rodgers. That is the guy you put the entire franchise in his hands. Come save us. We're a quarterback away. This team, all they did was hype this guy up. He can make this throw. He can win games for it. He can do it. He can do everything until he can't. And then what? They all look around and be like, well, now what do we do? And you read his body language and you see how he's moping around and the nonsense he's doing. You think that doesn't trickle down? Where guys that look up to him, the guy they always saw, winning games at Green Bay, comes here and he's moping around, look like he hates the field. Dude, that resonates with everybody. He said today, you know what? I got to do a better job. No, you should have started that 5 weeks ago. The leadership starts. You're right. Joe Douglas, Woody Johnson lost. Joe Douglas can get fired anyway. Ulbrich, whatever. Rodgers, dude. It starts with him. And then it goes down to Sauce and Breece and all these other guys, man.
Dude, there's 2 players that to me stand out as far as giving 110% effort every time they step on the field. Quincy Williams, Will McDonald.
Yep, that's it.
I mean, like, you watch like Gardner's tackling, it's awful. How many times? Let me ask you this: how many times did you see Najee Harris take a handoff and he didn't actually go down? Yep. He was carrying Jets defenders, or there would be a whistle, right? Forward progress, or he would just carry someone out of bounds, right? Dragging a Jets defender. You can't. The tackling is flat out awful. The safety play, flat out awful. Yep. It could have been nice to have one of these former Pro Bowl safeties that were, littered throughout free agency. But, oh, no, we don't value safeties. We should, because that really, really has has hurt our team. And, it's so crazy because, you can take a look at the small details like that, right? Like health and tackling and attitude and effort. And then you can look at like the bigger stuff, right? Like organizational leadership, overall vision, accountability within the locker room. And it's just like, we're failing in so many different areas. So I think that's why a lot of Jets fans are upset. And it would be one thing if we were in year 1 or year 2 of the regime, or Rodgers was 29 years old. But the second Joe Douglas acquired Aaron Rodgers, again, organizational decision here, that window shortened quickly. Exactly. And it went from young rebuilding team that needs an offensive line and a quarterback to we now get Aaron Rodgers and our window's maybe 2 years.
Yep.
2-3 years.
No, it's so Dante, first of all, thank you very much, man. It's very generous. Dante's comment, I really hope we win the majority of the next 10 games, but what's it going to take for this organization to get its act together? Do we need a football god like Reed or Parcells to overcome Woody's idiocy? Now, I'll say this. First of all, and Darryl made a good comment too. It's like, if you're losing games 31-28 where it's an intense game with excellent play, excellent close, coaching, all this up, you fall short, it's one thing. What's most bothersome is you're questioning effort. Like we talked about the game last week, dude. When you go to Pittsburgh or most quality teams, you expect physicality. You expect intensity. Like, you better buckle up because they're going to be well coached and they're going to be tenacious. If you don't match their energy, you're going to get mauled. The Jets don't match anybody's energy. That's an effort thing. That is literally a culture of your team where they're not stepping up. So then, to Dante's point, how do you change that? My thing is, the answer is yes, you need a prominent person like Parcells, who's already retired, but a Harbaugh, a Sean Payton, the guy's already gone. Here's your problem. Woody Johnson, nobody likes him. He doesn't pay coaches, and he doesn't give up power. You need to literally have a prominent coach come here and say, you know what, Woody, you sit in your office and make little memes and paint pictures. I'm doing everything with football. You have no say whatsoever other than pay the bills. That's it. Because the only way you clean this up, that's what Parcells did when he came here. He had to take full power, give everybody integrity, culture, accountability, and move on. The Jets aren't going to get that, dude. Nobody's coming here to save you. So it's literally a mess.
It's tough because I don't want to, as a fan, and I'm not, defending Woody by any means, but I don't want to sit here and say, okay, well, we have a bad owner, we're going to lose forever. We've seen teams, look at the Detroit Lions, man.
They got to get lucky.
Yeah, I agree. I think you can overcome bad ownership in short windows, right? Like a coaching regime.
Yep.
I think, if you look at the good owners, the guys who will fork over the extra cash, the guys who will get out of their own way.
Yep. Those
are the guys that really, it provides a good landscape or foundation for long-term success. But then you can, counter with, like, for example, Khan of the Jaguars.
Yep.
He's that type of owner. He will spend tons of money. He'll hire whoever. He'll fire guys, bring in guys. He doesn't make any football decisions. He lets the football guys do them. And Jacksonville is labeled as a dysfunctional team. So you can overcome poor ownership. I mean, look at the Lions.
Yep.
Look at the Browns. I mean, the Browns are terrible this season, but
look at the Bills. I mean, the Bills did it by hiring quality staff. But I mean, it's fair. You can overcome it. You got to get very lucky with quality hires. But going back to the game on Monday or Sunday. You're looking at it, and the offensive line, they come out all right on offense, where they had a couple good drives. You're like, all right, you know what? They're looking smooth. The offensive line slowly but surely deteriorates, starting with Tyron Smith, which is, I don't know what you do with him, dude. Like, they fail to make adjustments to give him help, and I do not understand why, when repeatedly he's getting beat. And I'm not hating on him. He's an all-time great player, an excellent mentor for Olu. But if your time has come, your time has come. Whether it's learning the new offense, learning the cadence, whatever it is, he's not getting out of his stance quick enough, and he's getting burnt. And it's a liability at certain points. So either you give him help or you maybe consider something else. But the Jets aren't doing that. Like, it's been a major disappointment. And when you look at the problems we're going to talk about tonight, it falls back on Joe Douglas. So, like, everybody has a part of this mess right now.
Oh, dude, 100%. I mean, when the issue and the problems are this wide, there's so much blame to go around. It's not just one person's fault.
Yep.
It's not, it's 100% on Woody or 100% on take Rodgers or whoever. This is a massive, widespread problem, which to me, if I'm being honest, like I'm just kind of naturally in the camp of I just want to start over.
Yep.
But at the same time, I do want Ulbrich to go out and win games. If Ulbrich is hired as the permanent head coach, that's, assuming that we actually finish well. And we go on this, crazy win streak and stuff like that, which would be awesome. That would be so much fun. But it's just the lack of culture to me really, really bothers me. It's just like, hey, you're a Jet, cool. And that's it. Try to make plays. You hear the term like play like a Raven or, like if you're a defensive player and you're drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers, there's a standard.
Yep.
The Bill Belichick, New England Patriots, there's a standard. I don't want to, kind of make the analogy of like, oh, he's a strict teacher, or it's like a strict environment, but there's just certain responsibilities, certain I guess maybe organizational philosophies that players and coaches just have to abide by. And if you don't abide by them, then leave. We don't want you. You will find others that will, fill that role. But think of it, dude. Like, again, defensive, we're just throwing out different situations. You're a defensive player and you're drafted by Baltimore or Pittsburgh. You are physical, you are tough. And if you're not at that standard, they're going to get you to that standard. And if you can't get there, you're not going to be playing.
Yep.
So, in your point to Tyron Smith, if the Jets are hellbent on rolling Tyron Smith out there for whatever reason, name, star,
respect,
money potentially, right, that he's owed, at least give him help on that side.
Exactly.
At least, in game, adjust and send running backs to his side. Now, of course, you can counter that kind of as a defense, but, I think it's just, if you watch old videos of like hard, I don't want to call them like hard coaches, but just old school mentality types of guys, like Parcells was one of these guys, guys that are just no BS. You listen to him talk, whether it's a post game, whether it's a locker room speech, whatever, after a loss, they get on players about a drop, about not knowing who to block, about, failing in critical moments, not being able to convert on a third down, things like that. Where I feel like with the Jets, it's just like, this is our best shot. We'll get them next week.
Yeah, but they're complacent. That's the problem. Like, I was very fortunate when Parcells was with the Jets. I went to practice all the time. I was there for 2 days. I was there weeks at end, every day watching practice. And the thing about him, because I was fascinated, I'm like, this is an all-time great coach, coaching my favorite team. Like, I don't want to miss this, right? He would literally, you hear a lot about attention to details, right? He would literally watch everything. And if you screwed it up, he'd be like, do it again, do it again, do it again. If you don't do it right this time, you're sitting down. Dude, he didn't care who you were. Like, he would rip Curtis Martin. He wouldn't care. He's like, this is our standard. We want perfection. We don't half-ass anything. You want to half-ass it, you're going to be somewhere else. I don't care how much money you make. He didn't care. But he had that respect. We're like, when you made a mistake, when they walked to the sideline, they were scared. Like, how players like usually walk by the coach? They'd be walking like way down, like 10 yards down. Parcells would follow him. Hey, man, what happened here? Blew that tackle? Like, they knew, like, they're going to be held accountable every goddamn play. That's right. Like, but it was just different. Now, you don't have to be a complete disciplinarian where you're yelling and screaming all the time, but you have that standard. The Jets don't have that. So now with Tyron Smith, my problem with the Jets is they're always worried about perception. They're always worried about, we can't bench Tyron Smith. He's a Hall of Famer. Is it about his Hall of Fame career, or is it about you winning football games? I'm picking on him now, but just the example overall. They're scared to bench people. They've always been like that, whether it's been Saleh, Ulbrich, whoever it is, because they're always worried about, what are they going to say? So now you have the problem with Tyron Smith, which is clearly a problem now. Either you adjust or figure it out. And Todd Downing's had 2 weeks now. Like, how many weeks to figure this out? We could see it with our 2 eyes. Now you have AVT's hurt, which is becoming a problem, because now it's like, that's the thing on AVT. Every year he's getting banged up and he's due for a contract. They picked up his option, but now, like, what do you do there? Like, you're creating more holes now where it's like, even like the foundation, your offensive line, which Joe Douglas is responsible for, isn't really a foundation. It's a bunch of Band-Aids.
I mean, I guess to kind of respond to the whole AVT thing, I got to be honest, that's not high on my list of priorities, right? Trying to figure out what that contract situation is going to look like. I mean, you still have some time. AVT's not in his contract year, correct?
No,
or is he?
No, I guess he picked up his option, I think.
Okay, yeah. So, you have time. I'm not going to really worry about that. If I'm
worried
about winning games.
Yeah.
Like, it's again, dude, if this was year 1 of a coach, right? If we were in the Panthers' shoes with Dave Canales, it'd be a little bit different.
Yep.
But this is year 4 of Saleh's regime.
Yep.
Year 2 of Hackett, year 2 of Downing and Keith Carter, all these guys. Years 5, 6 of Joe Douglas. He was brought in 2019, and it's just excuses all over the place.
Yep.
And to me, Ulbrich has got to show something, and it's not just wins on Sunday. Winning, of course, is important, but we can't be. I don't want to see this team like just go out, like say they beat the Patriots, and we shock everyone. We get a win against Houston, but then we come back in Arizona. We go to, fly across country to Arizona, and we go get a loss. And it's just a bunch of confusion and finger pointing after 2 weeks of tons of hype and everyone, talking about how good they are and stuff like that, which we typically see after wins, which I don't like. Again, this is professional football. This is not Pop Warner, high school, college football, things like that. This is professional football. So if you, and by the way, I'm not suggesting that the Jets hire a screamer. I'm not suggesting that the Jets hire some mean disciplinary, type of like Greg Schiano type of coach back with Tampa. That was one of his downfalls, like just his treatment towards players. Players just did not like him. And we do kind of live in a different age where guys are different now than they were back in the day. But I think there needs to be that just we're a professional football team. We're one of 32, and we need a grown up. We need an adult in the room calling the shots.
Well said, Dante. Thank you again, man. You don't have to keep giving us super chats, man. We get all the comments, but yeah, the Lions are different because Sheila Ford took over in 2000, whatever it was, right when they started the shift. Khan doesn't meddle, and the Bills are always MIA. Woody meddles, he's not good at. The rot starts with Woody. I mean, ownership plays a big part in terms of giving the team resources to get the players they want, staying out of the way, letting football guys make football decisions. But those guys making decisions aren't good, you're screwed, which could be the Jets again right now. Going back to the offensive line, the thing that it's bothersome because we're talking about all these different things. The things you hear about is attention to detail, execution. A lot of times it's not, people aren't really talking about the talent. They're talking about how poorly coached and how poorly the players are playing. And that's the maddening thing.
Yeah, dude. I mean, 100%. I mean, you look at what Washington is freaking doing this season. Bro, they had the second pick in the draft, starting a rookie quarterback, new owner, new GM, new head coach, new OC, new play caller, new system, right? Tons of new acquisitions. Eckler, Bobby Wagner, Ertz, all these different guys.
Yep.
And they're freaking dominating.
Yep.
Like look at Houston a couple years ago. They pick Stroud at 2, boom, they take off. Herbert, the Chargers, when they took Herbert, boom, they took off. So it's not, I don't want the perception to be, oh, the Jets have a bad owner. We're one of 2, 3, 4 teams that have a bad owner. We're going to suck forever. Teams overcome it. Yep. Nobody is, I know the Chargers ownership group is split up in different percentages, but nobody raves about the Spanos family being like these excellent owners, so I think you made a great point when you said, hey, if you're hiring the wrong guys, and again, this is not me giving a pass to Woody.
Right.
I acknowledge that the ownership could be better. I just think the priorities need to be about winning football. And I think with a lot of the well-ran teams, the priorities are about winning football and how do we achieve winning football. I mean, there's a reason why teams make the playoffs every single year. And there's fan bases out there to where if their team does not make the playoffs, they're up in arms. They're freaking out. What the hell's going on? This is not right. Where it's like, Jets fans, we're just, hey, could we get into the playoffs?
Be relevant in December. We're happy about like play meaningful games in December. We're doing cartwheels. Like and this is a, we've been getting a lot of this the last week or so. If the season continues to spiral out of control and everyone leaves, do you think Rex could change the culture? Not saying he's the answer, but I just don't see anyone else coming here. Love the show. First of all, thank you very much for the super chat, Costa. Listen, I love what Rex did when he was here. He did change the culture. He was fiery. He gave a spark. He had pride in the team. He also left terribly. And, he's good with a win now team. Is he good with a rebuild team? Probably not. And the Vrabel comments, Vrabel's not coming here. He's a Belichick guy. Belichick hates the Jets. Vrabel's not coming here. But what are your thoughts on Rex, man? What I love about Rex, he loved being the coach of New York Jets. He took so much pride in it. You see it now when he's commenting on it. You can see it hurts his soul to see how bad they're playing right now. But I think as a head coach, defensive coordinator maybe, but head coach, I'm not so sure, man.
I think in 2024, it's just it's just to be out of football for so long. He's had some interviews, I believe, with Denver.
Yep.
And I think Dallas potentially.
Yep. It
was Denver and one other team. For someone like, and I love Rex. I really do. Those were literally the best years of
Yep.
me watching this football team. Just so much fun. It was like I was in high school and the Jets were relevant, and Sanchez, the comebacks, the fourth quarter comebacks. I still remember so many of these plays, right? The blowout against Cincinnati, the Revis Ocho Cinco rivalry, the Holmes and Braylon Allen's on little 2 to 3 step drops from Sanchez under center, Schottenheimer calling play. It was just awesome, right? Great time. The Lions game, that Nick Folk hitting game-winning field goals. But I think if you take a look at Rex objectively right now, and you just you don't think about the past, you think of Rex right now, and you ask the question, what does he bring? He brings toughness. He brings good defense. He brings accountability. He brings, I would say, leadership. But I don't think he brings quarterback development skills. I don't really feel as though he brings a lot of the, traits that you would want to maybe see out of the offense.
Yeah, me neither.
And for someone being out of the game for so long, it just feels as though that ship has sailed. I love Rex, and I would maybe consider him as a consultant for the next guy. And I think if Rex is willing to do that, that's how you know this guy is like, he bleeds green. I mean, we all know he bleeds green, but like how cool would that be, right? We get a notification, not necessarily saying Rex is going to head up the new head coaching search. And by the way, no disrespect to Ulbrich, he can still turn it around and whatnot. I'm pulling for Ulbrich, but again, if we hit the offseason and we don't make the playoffs, I want a clean slate. And I'm talking new GM as well. Just me personally as a fan. But if Rex is involved, or if he's, kind of the right hand of Woody Johnson in maybe sitting down with coaches, because Rex knows what it takes to win in New York, win with this organization. He knows what winning looks like. Maybe if he, has his checklist, or if he's like, hey, you know what, this guy maybe reminds me of myself, or this guy I feel as though can handle the job and can be, maybe he can excel in the areas that I sucked at or I struggled with. Maybe he's going to have a better shot than I did. So long-winded answer, but that's kind of my take.
Here's an interesting name. And thank you, Mr. Forte. I want Kingsbury as our next head coach. He got a taste in Arizona. Now he's flourishing with the Commanders. Former Jet, excellent play caller, man. The Commanders' offense is flying. He had a head coaching job before, kind of floundered with it. What do you think about Kingsbury?
I like Kingsbury a lot. I really, really do. I'm not calling him a top 5 coach or a top 10 coach or anything, but I think if you talk about where football's going, he checks the box. Putting the quarterback in a good position to have success does that, right? Offenses produce. I think he's kind of like the anti-Saleh, the anti-Rex to a certain degree, where he just doesn't bring anything to the table defensively. Now, the Jets have, I guess maybe on paper, a good defense, right? Talent level, a good defense. And there's tons of good defensive minds that he could just bring in and kind of fill that void as a DC. I personally would like Cliff Kingsbury. I think I think he checks a lot of the boxes. He has head coaching experience before. And I think he's, obviously innovative at the position. He's not necessarily stuck in his ways, but I think what's key here is finding someone who's been a head coach before. Not necessarily like, any just run of the mill cast off, but not to be rude, but Cliff is someone who took some time off after he was fired, spent some time with Caleb Williams at USC, and then jumped over to Washington. See, that's kind of the team that I'm thinking of, the Chicago Bears. If Eberflus is fired, Cliff would maybe opt for Chicago Bears because of Caleb Williams and the working relationship there, plus the plethora of weapons. Whereas the Jets don't really have a long-term answer at the QB position. But hey, if Cliff wants to, be the head coach of this team and the Jets offer him, I'll take him. I'll take him. I want to say 8-9 times out of 10.
Yeah, and this is the guy that we're talking about coaches now. It's freaking October 22nd. This is the guy you like a lot, Brian Flores.
I do like Flores, man. I do like Flores. I think, obviously he's a Belichick guy. And, you got to imagine that Belichick wants to get back into coaching. And I don't know. It's just the whole, it's so interesting, right? The Jets and the Patriots history with, Mangini and stuff like that, the rivalry. Whenever you have some, and we even saw this with Gase going from Miami to New York, like whenever Rex going from the Jets to the Bills, whenever you have these like in division, like new head coaches and stuff, it's always so weird to look at. And, Flores was with New England for 15 years, Miami for 3 years, where he actually wasn't half bad, kind of, mediocre career record there.
Yep.
I think he brings a lot of physicality, no BS, a lot of discipline. He's from New York. And, one thing that I think is underrated when it comes to Flores, or maybe an underrated talking point, is, he's not really, when it comes to like other NFL organizations, right? We had that big story that came out. I think it was like a couple years ago after he left the Miami Dolphins.
Yep.
And there's a lot of rumors that like a lot of NFL owners don't like him. And
Yep.
bro, there were national sports media people saying Flores is done. He killed his NFL
He burned
chance
a lot of
of ever,
bridges.
burned a lot of bridges, ever working in the NFL again. Lo and behold, he ends up getting a job, I believe, that following year as Steelers linebacker coach. But he's doing a great job. So anyway, the point is, if the Jets can't find a coach and Flores doesn't feel like he's ever going to get another shot, or he's not really getting a lot of interviews, maybe that could be a nice, match made in heaven between the two.
Now, this is a guy that I love. He's one of my favorite all-time Jet players ever is Aaron Glenn. Love him. He's climbed the coaching chart, defensive coordinator of the Lions. He's doing so many great things. But to me, my concern is we've already learned that the first-time head coach in this market is very tough, and his expertise is defense. So he's only going to be as good as his offensive staff. Who can he bring with him? Things like that. So that's where I get nervous, where I'm at the point now where I want a prominent, established NFL coach that's already been there, done that, already has his culture established, already has his program established, and you move on. What I want to get your take on is the Jets wide receiver group. I don't want Ben McAdoo. No, thank you. The Ben McAdoo. The Jets wide receiver group, they add Devontae Adams, which to me, I was numb. I didn't care. I was so mad about losing that. But now you have a situation where you have more pieces to the puzzle. He's obviously going to play a little better. But Mike Williams seems to be the odd man out, which I think is ridiculous. They've underused him since he's been here. And to me, like you saw the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last night have 2 injuries. Godwin and Mike Evans get banged up. A lot of receivers are dropping now. Do you consider saying, you know what? It's not a tank move, but it's like, listen, I'm sure Mike Williams is playing for a contract. He's coming off an injury, 1-year deal. He wants stats so he can go make money next year. Do you say, hey, you know what? We can get compensation for him. Do you consider trading Mike Williams? Or do you say, you know what? I like this depth. I like the talent we have. We should have a high-flying offense. Let's keep him around and see what we can do with him.
I mean, dude, in theory, I want to keep him, right? He's a good player on a win-now team. What sense does that make? Trading a good player on a win-now team, especially in a unit where we always have guys getting hurt. And, it's a massive part of this team's success/failure. Why trade a guy like that? But we're talking about the 2024 Jets.
Yep.
And it's like, it just feels like right is, left is right with this team sometimes. And it's like, what the hell's going on? If Rodgers and Mike Williams aren't getting along, or not saying that they aren't, but if Rodgers is just would rather go to Adams and Garrett and throw it to Lazard and Breece out of the backfield, and Ruckert actually gets a lot of targets this season compared to previous years. Look, if Rodgers wants to do that and he's going to throw it at Mike Williams one time a game, then it might as well just flip him, clear a little bit of clear some money, and go get a future draft pick. I don't know if Joe Douglas is going to be making a draft pick. I don't want to sound too negative here or anything like that, but if he's going to get one look per game,
it's bad.
I would rather just have the draft pick. But if this was any other team in any other situation, I would just, in theory, I want to keep the win now piece.
Yeah, and this is an interesting comment here, which the videos you're making videos, I'm making videos. You see all the comments, and this one I'm getting a lot, man, where people are very disappointed with Garrett Wilson, where they think he's regressing. He had the ball hit him in the chest that turns into an interception was bad. He's had some weird drops to play in the end zone a couple weeks ago, where it's like, I think our expectations for him are to be elite. Like, we want to see a Pro Bowl caliber receiver. He showed potential early on, but he's played with terrible quarterbacks. Now he's got a better quarterback, and he's still making plays where you're like, I just think, is he a product of this bad losing environment where everything's just going wrong with bad coaching, bad culture, everything else? Or is he kind of like, what do you think? What's your take on Garrett Wilson right now?
Yeah, dude, it's interesting. I mean, first off, what's your kind of take on it?
I'm disappointed. I thought in situations like this, he'd rise to the occasion and be one of the leaders of the team where like he had the standard. We're like, no, we're not doing this right. He'd be like the shining star amongst all the muck and mud of this team. And he's kind of falling into he's falling into the mud with everybody else. I'm kind of surprised by that. I thought he'd elevate his game and be like, try to drag, like finally with a chance to win with a quarterback, he'd drag everybody along with him. And he's not really doing that. And then he's had these untimely drops where you're like, man, like we expect him to make those catches. So I'm disappointed. I don't know, man. Like I'm not trading him, but I am just a little disappointed with him.
Yeah, and we had the what was it, the Schefter report suggesting that multiple teams were, contacting the Jets for Garrett. But in any case, I mean, I still love Garrett Wilson. I think the moments where he has the football, even against the Steelers, man. I know the drop is the big talking point, and that play was just it sucked. He should have caught the ball.
Yep.
At first I thought it was tipped, but then on replay it looked like it went right over the corner. I think Garrett's just in his head.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think the losing has like infected him, and it just sucks, man. Like it's just so weird. But even with that like disappointing drop, even with the disappointing numbers this season, when he has the football, man, he's still electric. Like, even that touchdown against the Bills, like in the back of the end zone where he like tapped his feet. There were moments against the Steelers where he was, coming up with some pretty big third down conversions.
2-point conversion. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. I'm not moving Garrett Wilson first off. And then, I just think we just need, again, an adult in the room to say, hey, we got a really good player here.
Yep.
And we got to start winning some football games. But it kind of just seems like, it kind of feels like Garrett's like a little bit of, he's like a Jet fan, but he plays for the team. Like he's just I don't want to say disinterested, but he's just like, he knows how bad it is. Like he kind of has like an outsider's perspective, or it feels like he has an outsider's perspective.
Yep.
Because I mean, you listen to him talk, he's like demoralized.
Yep. They know like that. And that's the thing. Like you played sports before. We all played sports like that, but when you're on a bad team with a bad coach, like it. Sometimes you just can't buy in. You're like, listen, man, I'm trying my best, but this ain't going to work. Like you just know it. Like you get that sense. I kind of feel that with him. Now, the other thing in the offense, like Breece Hall definitely coming on, a bigger role in the offense, which is great. To me, it just seems like he lost a little bit of a step where the last couple of weeks, those should have been touchdowns, those long runs he has. Like you saw Derrick Henry last night, who's 75 years old, trucking down the sidelines, running like that. And Breece, it's just like, maybe he's still recovering. Maybe he's a little banged up, whatever it is. It seems like he's either lost a step a little bit or he's a little hurt more than he's saying, right? Because he looked like he's a little more explosive when he first came here.
Sorry, I'm reading Oscar's comment here. Will Malachi Corley play another game ever? Geez. So first, all right. Yeah. So to answer the Breece question, he definitely looks different.
Yeah.
But he's still a good player, man. He's still one of the top backs in football. I don't care what the numbers say. I don't care what anybody says, right? Fantasy this, whatever. Like you watch Breece Hall with the football in his hands, he moves. And yeah, he had a disappointing rushing night, but he had a pretty damn good pass receiving night.
Yeah.
So I think it's just I think he's in his head. I mean, when he gets the ball, he's kind of like waiting around at the line of scrimmage. Whereas with Braylon Allen, he just gets the ball and just moves. He makes the one cut and just gets upfield. With Breece, it's kind of like dances around. He kind of reminds me a little bit of Saquon with the Giants.
Yeah.
Where it's like a lot of, gain of 1, no gain, -1, -2, gain of 1, gain of 60, and, I think he's a lot better of a player than what we're seeing right now. But one thing that we have to factor in, is Keith Carter, the offensive line coach.
Yeah. That's the guy that should have been fired last year when the players are complaining about him. We saw legitimate problems. You're seeing the same problems now, which is just beyond concerning. And so we covered a lot of guys on the offense, which the Corley thing is just wild. Like he's not even active. And now that you have Devontae Adams here, forget Corley ever playing. It's just not going to, which is just crazy. The defensive line to me is ridiculously disappointing on two levels. The first level is Joe Douglas made some mistakes where he had the strength of the team, he rebuilt it and actually made it worse. And the players he brought are not only worse, they're getting pushed around like they're nothing. Kinlaw getting pushed around. Quinnen Williams just getting overwhelmed because nobody around him is actually doing anything. The loss of Jermaine Johnson was enormous, dude, because he was tenacious and he brought that energy where you're not seeing that same energy from these guys. Now, Will McDonald's doing good. He has his moments, but overall, the defensive line is getting their ass kicked to an embarrassing level where they're literally getting blown off the ball week in and week out. And it's not like you knew against the Steelers, you've got to show up, and they weren't. And when they're getting blown off, nobody's tackling behind them. Arm tackles, bad angles, everything else. But the defensive line, man, I don't know what's going on here because the defensive staff we have respect for. Right? You almost think like Ulbricht's got to give up play calling. Like, listen, man, you're the head coach now. Give play calling to somebody else because maybe you're in over your head with that because this defense has to be better, especially up front.
Yeah, man. I mean, I just think it's a big ask to say, okay, we're going to take the strength of the team, the D-line last year, and we're not going to bring anybody back. You know, we're going to let Al Woods walk. We're going to let Quentin Jefferson walk. We're going to let Bryce Huff walk. We're going to trade JFM. That's 4 players that played a lot of downs. I know Al Woods got hurt, but Quentin Jefferson had the best season of his career. Bryce Huff had the best season of his career. JFM is a versatile player who can play on the outside or inside, helps against the pass and helps against the run. So he's kind of that like movable chess piece. Wherever you want to put him, you can plug him in. So you get rid of all 4 of those guys. And by the way, I don't want to hear, oh, you know, they wanted too much money or this and that. We've seen this from Joe Douglas time and time again. Robbie Anderson lets him walk out the door. What was the dispute? $2 million.
Yep.
Anderson, of course, goes on to have a 1,000-yard season for Carolina, where the Jets were left with no offensive help, you know, after he left at the wide receiver spot. You can talk about letting Morgan Moses go for over what I think the dispute was $3 million. Lets him go. He starts for Baltimore for, 2 years? And then we're in a position where we're trading a pick back to Baltimore to get Moses back 2 years later into his career. It's just weird situations. So I don't want to hear that, oh, Quentin Jefferson wanted too much money or JFM wanted too much money. Why? Because the Jets overpaid Kinlaw. Kinlaw's expected contract was 1 year, $4 million. We give him 1 year, $8 million. You know, we bring in Lecky Fotu. We have the weird John Franklin Myers tweet after he's traded saying that the Jets never offered him anything close to the minimal restructured deal that he got in Denver. So it's just questionable decision making, you know, because I felt like a lot of those guys were going to get brought back. Huff was the only one that I was just like, there's a chance that he's going to go because there was no urgency to re-sign him. But with JFM, Woods, and Jefferson, I'm like, bring all 3 back, no question. You know, no.
Well, they wanted Jefferson back. I think it was a communication issue, right? Like Jefferson gave the Jets a chance to match, and they responded too late or something like that. Wasn't that the story?
I actually don't know.
But I mean, but your point is well, and this is like you know what you have in the building. This is your strength, your team. You add some pieces to it. You don't deplete it altogether. And now they're getting manhandled. So now finally Reddick is here, and it's so funny. The Jets are acting like he's going to be like, you know. He played the entire training camp and preseason. He's ready to roll. It's probably taking 3 weeks to figure this out. Show what kind of shape he's in. Learn the defense. Do this. He's going to be a situational pass rusher at best. It's almost like too little too late at this point. But it's disappointing, man. Like the defense is so disappointing. And it's like effort. It's like there's just no fire at all. And I see people ripping Quinnen Williams. Like, you know what? I love Quinnen. I think, you know, he's not Mo Wilkerson. To call him Mo Wilkerson, you don't know what Mo Wilkerson did. He literally got paid and stayed in trouble the rest of the time, just quit. He was basically worthless at this point. Quinnen's still a very good player, but there's nothing really around him at this point, right? Like I don't have no ill will towards Quinnen. I think he's not being supported very well on that line.
Yeah, I agree. I love Quinnen. He's one of the, to me, like just untouchable. I just love him as a player. And I think it's hard to judge one individual player that like it's tough on the D line because it's not like corner where you're out on an island. It's not like wide receiver or, you know, one of these positions where you have a lot of power. Like on the defensive line, when you are the best player on the D line, B, the offensive line and the the opposing offensive team knows that you are this good and that you are a former All-Pro, they're going to make sure that you're not really an impactful guy. And then on top of it, we have all the changes on the D-line where Fotu isn't really making that much of an impact. Kinlaw's not making much of an impact. You know, we don't have the veterans there. No Jermaine Johnson. No Bryce, right? We don't have the talent on the D line. So, in my eyes, outside of Will McDonald, you have drop offs at every position, even the depth.
Yep.
So, I mean, I like Leonard Taylor a lot. I like Eric Watts, but it's unfair to say, all right, well, those guys aren't performing. Why not? Like
you're counting on undrafted free agents to be big contributors. It's like you're counting on practice squad guys to come in and play well, and it's just not. And the one guy the one guy Ian mentioned earlier is like, that was my big talking point. Because I've been on a rampage. I'm sure I've been cursing and yelling and screaming all kinds of stuff. And it's like, look at this entire team, 22 starters. How many guys are actually overachieving or having an incredible season? You're like, wow, man, these guys are really taking off. It's like Will McDonald, maybe Sherwood. There's maybe 2 or 3 guys out of 22, and everybody else is disappointing. Literally, everybody else is like, man, they're average. They're just a guy. They're they're not breakout players. And a lot of it's on defense. So you go to defense. Quincy Williams is a high effort guy, still a good player. Not going to go to Pro Bowl this year because he's just not. The defense is terrible. But then you look at the secondary. Michael Carter, we love him as a player, as a corner, great slot corner, got the good contract. We were happy for him. He's been hurt ever since, which is terrible. DJ Reed gets banged up, and DJ Reed was actually playing better than Sauce. But then you go to Sauce, and Sauce is a guy that we want to say the next Revis, one of the best corners in football, all pro his first 2 years, game-breaking talent, all this stuff. His body language and his play this year has been disappointing as well, too, man, where you see he's making decisions on tackling where you're like, dude, he's not even trying. The pass interference calls, like some of them, like, and Brian Baldwin broke it down. He's like, he's not moving his feet. He's not working his technique. He's not doing this. Like, did he think he just arrived? Like, he's arrived and that's it. I'm here, man. I'm Sauce. I can just do what I want. He's not getting the big interceptions. It's been disappointing, man. And that's a guy, like, we had this young core we were so proud of, like this young group of people, like, you know what? This is our group for the next 5 years. We're going to give Sauce all the money he wants, pay Garrett, pay Breece. And now you're looking at it, you're like, all right, what is he doing, man? Is it the coaching? Is he better with a better coach? Like, what's going on with Sauce, do you think?
I think it's just a lack of, I like my corners to like really get their hands dirty, stick their nose in and make a tackle, right? Come up like a jackhammer and just light guys up. And if you don't want to do that, at least have the, fundamentals to bring someone, wrap someone up on the ground, right? Control their legs, right? You watch a guy like Rasul Douglas of the Bills.
Yeah.
Great tackler. Great. And has a similar kind of build to Gardner, which is why I use him as an example. Long, kind of, really long arms. He's like a lengthy corner. I mean, his tackling is great. He will come up and make hits. With Gardner, I mean, there's plays. I mean, I want to say probably plays in every single game where he's could have done a better job. But in that Bills game, like there were moments where the Bills would just go right at him. In a handoff situation with Ray Davis, not even James Cook, right? Ray Davis, we're going to force him to tackle on the outside, and it's just not good enough, right? Against the Steelers, there's moments where he's like trying to do these like arm tackles where I'm going to slide. It kind of reminds me of like, player. It really just comes down to not wanting to, in my opinion, not wanting to like get too physical.
Yep.
Because I remember like in high school, I'd have buddies joke around because like, my school would play other schools that would have like a college prospect on them, and they would like joke around like, dude, I'm not tackling that guy. I'm gonna get the hell out of the way. I'm gonna like approach to tackle him and then move and try to wrap up with one arm and try to get wrap up by his knees or by his waist. And it sucks because Sauce has the potential to be a freaking good tackler, but
I just think he plays under Sean Payton. He plays under Andy Reid. He plays under better coaches. I think he raises his game to another level. I think nobody's holding him accountable. Nobody's really saying anything to him. He's just doing what he wants to do. Like DJ Reid helped him for a while because like he's learning the ropes. I think now it's just like they're not coaching him up. They're letting him just be who he is, and it's frustrating.
So Yo Holmes had a good comment there at 7:53. He had. There's been times where Gardner's kind of looked like he just doesn't want to get too physical. Like he does not want to come up and make a hit, and he does not. It doesn't look like he's giving a lot of effort. So maybe he is injured. Maybe he isn't. I'm not sure, but all we do know is that he doesn't look the same. Along with major drop offs with so many different positions.
So now you go from the corners, which are they're either injured or underperforming. I love DJ Reed, but he's not going to be here next year because he's going to get big money somewhere else. To the safety position, which is an absolute, it's just empty now because they're all hurt. Chuck Clark's hurt. Tony Adams got hurt. Ashton Davis got hurt. And now it's like they're just liabilities at this point. Like,
Well,
right?
So just to cut you off, even when they were healthy, it's not like we were great.
No.
I think Jalen Mills looked really, really good.
He made some good plays.
Jalen Mills, yeah, I mean that, he's not afraid to come up and make a hit. He's flying around the field. He's making plays in the back end. He's making plays up in the middle of the field, up towards the box. Like Jalen Mills is starting for this team from here on out.
Yeah,
but I mean, you look at the Steelers, bro. They have 2 great safeties, and they were making plays all night. You look at the Bills game. Taylor Rapp saved the freaking game for the Bills. You can make the argument he won the game for the Bills.
They have no enforcers. They have no enforcers on defense at all. Like the big hitters, the guy you kind of fear. Like obviously not with personal fouls, but that. And then it's just you look at all that and you're disappointed. And then special teams is driving me insane. Where we all would say Brant Boyer is an excellent special teams coach. All these things. Greg Zuerlein. You have I'm trying not to curse so bad, dude. I'm trying so hard not to curse. I'm almost sweating. I'm trying so hard. The fact that he's still here blows my mind. But you're watching the kicks now. Like you don't trust extra points. You don't trust anything. And now they're getting them blocked. Like they're just an absolute mess. Like how is he still? What happened to the special teams now? We can't even have that. Right? It's like it's the simplest goddamn thing. Kick a football. He can't even do that.
So the Jets are actually last in field goal percentage.
Oh.
It's I think 62%, 32 out of 32. And then even on kickoff coverage or kickoff returns, on punt returns, it's not like we're all that great there. That's somewhere where I'd want to see maybe Corley get a shot at this point.
Oh,
like Isaiah Davis.
But do you know what they do? Between Gibson and Isaiah Davis, they literally run into the blockers. It's like somebody tells them to follow the blockers, means follow them and find holes. They run into their goddamn blockers or they fall. Like they look like they're not smooth. They have no confidence and they don't know where they're going. Like
I give Corley a shot.
But why? Like he's here. Like, it can't get any worse. It's like they're not a weapon anymore. Like their infatuation with Gibson is mind blowing at this point. He's fumbling the ball, dropping it out of bounds. It's just we understand he's got speed. He's also not a weapon. Like special teams has been completely disappointing. And that's why where you hear all this accountability nonsense, you're literally keeping a kicker with no confidence. And it's saying he's going to play through it. How do you play through bad? Like you don't like when you lose confidence, you don't just, maybe next week we'll figure it out. Meanwhile, you're losing games. You're getting kicks blocked. These are all impact plays. It's wild. Like there's not one facet of the team that you feel comfortable with, right? Like even Sunday, I was worried. I'm like, this game's going to be a field goal game. He's going to miss it. And he got him blocked anyway.
I mean, we can't really throw the ball all that well. We can't run the ball. We can't pass protect. We can't run. We can't stop the run. Outside of Will McDonald, we can't really get after the passer. Hopefully, Reddick changes something.
Dude, Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson outplayed Aaron Rodgers. Let that sink in. Just think about what we're dealing with right now.
I mean, I really don't mind Russ. I think he kind of gets unnecessary hate. I think Hackett actually has a lot to do with. Of course, it comes right back to the Jets, but back in Russ is a starting quarterback in my opinion. He's not a top 10 guy, but he's functional back there. I mean, he was made those like moonshot throws where they were like perfectly.
They're like punts. The ones that you mean the punts that we need to turn our head back on and let them come over our head like 3 times in a row? They called the same goddamn play 3 times in a row. We couldn't defend it. And it was like that looping little, like it was like a Chad Pennington throw. Remember Chad used to throw those balls? Like it was like that. Same exact throw.
And they're all one-on-one. I was confused on why Pickens was just in one-on-one coverage with no help.
Yep.
I felt like for the majority of the game. It
drives you crazy. So we recovered all the things we hate about this team, but now you have a game on Sunday where if you want to salvage anything, it's you got to beat the Patriots, where they're not a good team. They're struggling. They've been called soft. There's all this other stuff. They have Drake May. I'll tell you this. If they lose this game on Sunday, I'm done. I will quit. I'll be because listen, I'm not discounting them. I'm not saying the Jets are a great team, all this, but if you can't find a way to, after losing 4 games in a row, rally back and beat a team like the Patriots, I don't care if it's on the road. I don't care if it's snowing, rain, wind, it's a monsoon, a hurricane. I don't care. If they don't win this game, dude, trade everybody. Just blow it all up now, and I give up because it's over. this is it, right?
We better win.
There's no
We better
excuses.
win.
There's literally no more excuses. They've used them all up. There's none left.
Dude, yeah, bro. The amount of excuses that we've heard. Zach Wilson, Mike LaFleur, Hackett, Saleh gone after 5 weeks. Rodgers getting hurt, not signing a backup QB. Oh, it's cold out, or oh, it's raining.
It's windy.
We played a good defense.
But what's your level of confidence though? Like you're saying, like they already beat the Patriots once. They embarrassed them. Where they celebrated that for like a week. I think they've been celebrated ever since. But like, what's your level of confidence? And we talked about the lack of leadership, the lack of focus, the poor coaching. Do you think this is where they really rally with Devontae Adams and Reddick in the building now, where they kind of maybe like, you know what, maybe we have to get our act together now because we've lost all our wiggle room. Do you believe in that, or are you still kind of like, I got to see it to believe it? Because I'm kind of there where, I know the Jets should win in theory on paper, but I'm still like, man, if the Patriots come out with more tenacity and they're physical and they score first, God forbid, this Jets team could quit again.
I just don't want to see a mistake. Like if we see like a Rodgers strip sack or a Rodgers pick or something, or we fumble on special teams or something like that. And it's because like the Jets showed it last week. If there's adversity, they mentally crumble.
Yep.
And that really, really pisses me off, especially when we're not physically the tougher team either.
Yep.
So we're entering every game, or I want to say maybe the majority of games, as the mentally weaker team and the physically weaker team. It's hard to go out and consistently win like that. So,
but in terms of the coaching staff, you can't say they have a better coaching staff than us, which is probably every week but this week, right?
Yeah, I mean, we should win this game. I think the Vegas odds was like Jets minus 7.5 or something.
Yeah.
It was a decent number, but then again, the Jets were the favorite against the Steelers somehow. So
now here's a question for you, because like I got ripped for this. I'm just, the really cool thing about having this platform is we don't offer up hot takes we're not chasing likes, subscriptions, or like we're just calling it like it is. And I'm so frustrated right now where if the Jets beat the Patriots, they're supposed to. Like I'm not going to celebrate. I'm not going to be happy. I'm not going to be proud. Like, oh, we're back. Doesn't really prove anything to me. You got to win 2 games in 4 days. Beat the Texans. You got to show me more than being the Patriot team. You've got to show me that you're actually a legit football team that actually cares, plays with passion, pride, and can actually beat a team that's not one of the worst in football. So, like, if they win it, are you kind of like, all right, we're turning the page? Are you like, you know what, this is a baby step where you got to run a marathon?
No, I mean, I don't want to sound like a jerk, but we need to be able to, first of all, we need to be able to compete with the team that is, like, in theory or on paper, equal to us. If we beat the Patriots, great. Yep. As Roger said, I thought this quote was actually really cool. He's like, you can't go on a 10-game winning streak without winning the first one.
Right.
Which I thought was sweet. But the reality is, if the Jets beat the Patriots, I don't want to hear this, oh, we're back. Even if we win by 25, it's the reality is every time you play a team that is relatively good, we lose.
Yep.
And we beat ourselves. I want to say for the majority of
they can't handle
penalties,
they
whatever.
Can't handle success.
We would have 3 wins on the year, and they've literally came against the 2 worst teams in football.
Yep.
Tennessee, 1 win. Patriots, 1 win.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's why, like, to me, I'm where you're at. Like, listen, win the game, act like you haven't arrived. Don't win the game and post endless social media posts like, we're back, we told you, us against the media, you fans don't believe in us. You're not accomplishing anything. You've dug such a hole for yourself that this game is basically you win or your season's over. You're getting to that point now. So don't act like you're accomplishing anything. You're doing what you're supposed to be doing. And now you got to string together wins. Because if not, if they lose games like this, that trade deadline is going to get real interesting, man. Because I'm like, you know what? I don't care about it. You've got to make the different decisions. So it's going to be interesting. I mean, they've been getting destroyed everywhere for an entire week now, or since the game. It's going to continue to the Sunday. So now it's going to be like, what team shows up?
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I'm kind of in the mindset of, what I just want to win. I don't care how it is, even if it's an ugly win. I really don't care. I just need to see this team get into the winning column, because I think that will kind of spark some stuff, send a little bit of life into this team. Granted, it should already be there, but it's not, and we need to find it somehow. So it's going to be tough. And sorry, I'm just looking for Okay, so the trade deadline this season is November 5th.
2
So I
weeks.
believe it's a week later compared to previous years.
Yeah.
So today's the 22nd. And by the way, I don't see the Jets as buyers at the
No.
deadline.
Buyers.
Not at all.
Who
So
else could they? Who else can they? They've got Devontae Adams. Who the hell else they going to buy? At some point, you got to coach up what you have and play better. Like you can't just keep getting deodorant. Oh, we got Devontae Adams. Oh, we got Reddick. How about the guys here actually do something?
well, I agree
Right?
with you. I mean, I agree with you, but you know, we're still in the same position that we were at the start of the year, which is Rodgers is old, the window's short, there's pressure on Douglas. So if it takes a 6th round pick to go get Quentin Jefferson back or a big run stuffer from Jacksonville or Tennessee, you know, I could see maybe something being in the works, because it's, again, like we were talking about this whole stream, it's not like we only have one issue. There's a ton of issues.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think Joe Douglas probably has the ability to maybe acquire players, but I'm not sure if he's allowed to actually get rid of players, because now it's like, you know what, you may not be next year. So we're not going to let you help the rebuild next year if you're not even going to be here. Like that's going to be that's a conversation to happen once they start losing more games. But gets really interesting where it's like, all right, you're going to have basically a lame duck general manager making decisions for your future, which is dangerous, because then it's like, is he doing what's best for your organization, or is he doing best for, you know, like that's where it gets kind of sketchy. But let's beat the Patriots, not worry about that now. But I honestly, I cannot believe we're here October 22nd. I can't believe it. I can't believe they've lost 4 in a row. I can't believe there's leadership issues. I'm like, you're defeated. And like, for as longtime fans, you're starting to crack a little bit. Like, you know what? I'm fed up. Like, I don't want to go through another rebuild. I don't want another miserable season. You know,
see, I really don't mind another rebuild.
What? You serious? But you have faith in the Jets picking the right people to do it?
No. In comparison to what? Say
true.
let's just hypothetically say the season continues on this path.
Right.
What do you want? You want the Jets to sign more 1-year veteran contracts and stay pressed against the cap and start trading away more picks?
No. I'm like this, and this is like I wanted it. Like I like Aaron Rodgers. I loved him when he was with the Packers, but if the season continues like this, he's got to go. Like we've tried it. We know it's not going to work. It's only going to get worse. He's going to get older. He's not going to get better. So at that point, you got to turn the page. You have no choice. So you're right there. In terms of the rebuild, you got to just blow it all up, get rid of literally everybody, even the scouts. I don't care. Like just full blow up, including Rodgers, and start a completely over. But then your fear is that you got to get a new general manager, new coach, new quarterback, and then it's just like it could be like 2-3 years before they win 9 games in a season.
I mean,
that sucks.
We got to go. This is you know what, this is a topic, or this is really, I would say, like an entire stream that we should have after the Patriots game if we lose.
Oh, what
if we win? It's on pause.
Oh yeah, dude, they lose the Patriot game. We're gonna break all the rules that next stream. I'll be cursing, yelling, breaking things. It's gonna be over. You're gonna get the true Let's Talk Check experience then, man, because it can be, woof.
Dude, I almost broke my desk during the Steeler game.
Just
after the Garrett Wilson like pick.
Oh, it's hard because we stream it, and it's so hard because you just want to really rage and you got to try to, like, you throw your headset, you're like, oh, here we go again. Like, you just know what's going to happen. Then they lose the game. You see the guy smiling on the sideline. You're like, what are we doing? It's going back to like the Gase days when the Gase team was falling apart. It reminded me of that. We're like, we've seen this before, but now they have a chance to turn the page on Sunday and kind of buy some time.
Yeah.
So,
hey, if the Jets, if we don't get it done, we might be a rage stream.
100%, guarantee it.
Dude, honestly, man, we should win this game.
Yeah.
We need to win this game. We should win this game. I have a lot of confidence in this team that they are going to go out and get the W.
Yeah, I mean, this is a game that they would. That the Texans game is a whole other story, but this game right now, I'm not confident. I'm just like, I'm thinking they should do it. I'm not sure what the score is going to be. It could be like a 10-9 game for all we know, but I think they find a way to get it done.
You can't go on a 5-game losing streak, losing to 4 AFC teams and 2 division rivals, and one of which is the worst team in football.
You're going to lose to Bo Nix, Russell Wilson, and Drake May. Could you imagine? And Sam Darnold.
We got to get the win, man. We got to get the win.
This is a good point too. For the first time in my life, the Jets should sweep the Patriots, and I won't care. I'm with you. I don't. Oh, here's a hot take. We dropped 12 on the Patriots. An offensive shootout. All right. Well, we ran a little bit longer than usual, but this was a venting session we had to get out because it's very frustrating times with this team. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Every week we bounce back and forth. So next week we'll be on Ian's channel, 7:00 every Tuesday. We try to have fun. We try to be as honest as we can. We're not trying to just like sit here and bash them, but you can't watch what we've been watching and lie about it and sell you like rainbows because there are none. They're all dead. So
yeah, I mean, dude, like there's a lot of issues, man. There's a lot of things that the Jets need to work on. Lots of things.
So we'll be streaming Sunday at 1:00. It's 1:00 game, right? Thank God.
I think so. Yeah.
Thank God.
Well, it's 1:00 Thursday night, and then a 4:00.
Dude, these late night games are killing me, man. Because then you're mad the whole next morning. You go to work on those sleep, and 1:00 game is good. So if they lose, I have all Sunday night to just like tweet it out and be angry, and then go to work with the same mind on Monday. So that'd be perfect. So thank you guys for joining us. We appreciate it. We're streaming on Sunday, next Tuesday, his channel, and we'll talk to you guys later.